Recording in progress.
Hey guys, how are you? This is the last, well, technically this is the last week, right? I don't think we're allowed to have a class next week. Do you guys want a class next week on Monday also? Just like this, another meeting? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No worries. It's just I don't want to force it upon you because it's like finals week and all. But if you're happy, I'm happy to meet. And in fact, even the week after that, that is supposed to be. Is that your spring break? Yeah, that's your spring. No. It's a summer. It's a break between the summer. And yeah, even during that week, I'm happy to work one-on-one or two-on-one with you guys to prepare those tech reports that we were talking about. Yeah, so if in fact it doesn't have to be Riley does one and Walter does another, or Tony does another. No, you in fact just talk amongst yourself and see if you can partition the work, and you can say we'll just produce two tech reports together, co-authored. That's fine too, right? Whatever works, because at the end of the day you want to figure out. In fact, it'll be better if two people author each of those reports, because then you have an extra pair of eyes to check over your code also. Right? Obviously you're going to do AVL, which is going to be really easy. Once you're done with graph algorithms and all, you're going to be doing AVL, and then you already have a splay implementation. And then you can cross-check, and you can exchange code, and it's basically called code. What is it? Peer code review, which is something you'll be doing all the time professionally. So you may as well get used to it and say, well, we're gonna have a report creating team here for and then code one person writes will be reviewed by another, and vice versa. And I will obviously be more than happy to do a final review also of the code, and we could do what we did in CS2A, which is I can get you started off with all the code. We can start with a blank slate inside of your Xcode or VS Code or some kind of editor. And then I can get you started off by speaking the code. And were any of you guys in my 2A? I forget, right? Because some of you joined in 2B and some of you. All right, so all of you joined in 2B then. So nobody did my 2A.
I was in 2A.
Tony, you were in 2A. Were you in my 2A section where we coded in class?
No, I attended in-person course, I think.
Oh yeah, that was from a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
I remember. In fact, I remember now. You were, in class. You were usually sitting, enter the door, 3 desks forward and 1 to the left. I think around there was where you were sitting mostly. I think. I remember. It was in one of the 5200 buildings. Wow, that was a long time ago. I haven't taught on campus for 2 years now. And yeah, all right, awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, anyway, nobody's been through it, but you can look through my CS2A lectures, right? You can look through my CS2A lectures on YouTube, and you'll see tons and tons of people actually coding, and they'll all start with a blank slate mostly, right? An empty editor, and we start coding from scratch, including the template, hash include main, and hash include IOStream, every single thing we code in class. And whenever the student is stuck, I basically, I or some other student will pipe in and say, hey, that's the next letter. And so most students start off initially just as a blind typist, saying, well, I'm going to turn off my mind and just type what the professor or my classmates say. And that works well until they're comfortable being in that role. But once they are comfortable being in that role, they will not be blind typists anymore. They will actually think through it and sometimes type ahead, and they'll be surprised to see it themselves. So we can do that too. If you've never coded, we can absolutely code, and especially if any of you have a laptop, tablets with a pen. Also, you can bring it to our codeathon meetings, where if there's any concepts that need to be described, we can also use your tablet. Well, I guess I could use my iPad too, but yeah, but things like that. I think it'll be fun. So I don't know if you guys have plans for the week after the finals, but if you want to work on the tech report, either individually or as a team, I'm more than happy to meet with you as frequently as you want, because that entire week is okay for me. I'm just going to finish off the syllabus and everything, put them online, and then next week will pretty much be free. So you can catch me any time of the day and say, hey, Anand, you know, we've been working on this program and we're stuck here. Can you give us some pointers? Or what should we do next? Or can you review this together? Here's the code. Can we all review it together? And this is a place where we'd like to know if that's correct or maybe do better. Yeah, no, I think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun experience. Okay, and so I'm happy for that, to do that. And I really hope that, you know, one of you or all of you really take up that offer to do those tech reports, right? Like I said before, you can Google and find out if people have published empirical results of these comparisons between data structures. There are, but many of these will be, you know, you can find only in certain kinds of research papers, which also include a whole lot of other information that is not directly relevant. So when someone goes to look for a very specific thing and they find a big research paper in which, you know, either it's taken for granted or there's a, you know, one paragraph justification, it's not very helpful. So that's why I think that this kind of report will be very, very useful to the community itself in general. I know this because I know of many companies which actually use even today, which still use inefficient data structures for jobs. Like I always, you know, I say this to my CS2A students all the time. It is always possible to do any job using inefficient tools. Always possible, right? And therefore, the unsuspecting customer, that's, you know, people out there, won't even know that it's a shoddy product. If it works, they don't know. Well, you know, they say, oh, it works in 10 minutes. That's fantastic. You know, I thought it could never be done. But the truth may be that it could be done in 10 microseconds, right? And most people won't even know because it's been done shoddily. And then that person who did a shoddy product will basically say, I got a successful product out there. You know, I need to join a big company and make a shoddy product on a global scale now, right? And that doesn't work, right? Because when they now go and interview at the big companies, they say, well, even though that product was, you know, out there, it wasn't done in the best possible way. And so we can't risk that kind of inefficiency escaping unnoticed into our production code. So that if you do something like that, then 2 or 3 of our professional engineers will have to waste 10 or 15 minutes of their time to spot it and in a code review, and it all wastes time. So, you know, the big guys will not like that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's why code review, pair coding is actually very nice in a professional circle. The thing, however, you know, companies don't have the luxury of pair coding, especially startups. Okay, startups, no way. They won't have the luxury of saying 2 people, you know, we're paying 2 people salaries, but you only get 1. Even though it actually increases the likelihood of, you know, successful code releases. But even in big companies, only, you know, only this really, really important core pieces of code go through multiple reviews, right? You check it in and someone else has to sign off and someone else has to sign off, you know, a couple of peers and one your manager and things like that. But a lot of the simple code you tend to write yourself and not have, you have less review for the simpler code as you go forward. So I think it'll be fun to work together in a team. Yeah, thanks. How come it's only the 3 of you all the time? I know that other people are, well, you know, I see, because it's, you know, some of them are working and Jason has this conflict and so on. Okay, but still, you know, I have to do something about this whole system where I'm not getting enough students like you in CS2C. In fact, I get fewer students like you in 2B already, and still fewer in 2C. I don't know if you notice a trend, right? So you were in 2B and in 2C. And I don't know why there's such, because maybe it's because online classes attendance is mandatory or not mandatory. It's okay. It's okay. But the thing is, in my face-to-face classes, attendance is kind of mandatory because, you know, because it's a face-to-face Zoom class. But even there, attendance drops off. So I don't know if there is something that is inherently unpleasant about the way the instruction is being delivered, so that people say, no, it's a class not worth going to, so I might as well not go. If that's the case, we don't even have to have these meetings, right? In study, I'm happy to just answer questions on Reddit, but I'm not getting any feedback from anyone. So that's why I'm left to wonder why the numbers are going down. And also, I need to, I don't know, maybe it's a more concerted effort where we actually have to make sure that students know stuff before they enter these classes. Because so one of the things the question system flags, and I think I made this point in the forum too, right? In JSON, for example, the system actually keeps very close track of the progress, including individual increases in trophy counts, right? Going from 9 to 10, 10 to 11. All of those things are counted by the system in the backend. So I can take a look, and I look at the graph of activity of each student, right? Is it like this? Okay, because each quest should be like that. It's like a sawtooth. Or is it, if I look at the graph and it looks like no activity at all, and then miraculously, bam, like that one, miraculous correct solution, and then move on, miraculous correct solution. Those are like 0 participation points, because I have absolutely no evidence the person actually knows anything. They probably bought the solution from elsewhere, is what the system was, that is what the system is trying to imply there, right? The other kind of graph I've seen is that no activity at all, right? And then not a miraculously correct solution, but one night before, there's like 1 million solutions, all of them, just basically blasting bullets away in the dark, right? Without really thinking through the things and making lots and lots of changes, each of which leads you towards a solution without knowing why you're getting towards a solution. And then as soon as you get the solution, you move on to the next one without really understanding the concepts, right? And that's more dangerous, because that gives you a false feeling of having mastered a concept, when you will not be able to use that concept at a whiteboard interview. The whole idea of having students struggle through each quest for a whole period of 7 days, not just 1 day, is because that is the only way that I've right, like my grandfather used to say, writing once is better than reading twice. That I have not found a better way, other than something like a Matrix and a Neo beaming into your head. Because the only way you can be in front of a whiteboard and someone says, how can you extract the bottom 50 elements from a heap, right? And you have a heap. Can you come up with some algorithm to extract the bottom 50 elements, or top and whatever it is, right? Now, well, it's not even going to be like that. They'll phrase it in a way in which you don't know it's going to be a heap, right? And there is only one way to say, okay, well, that problem requires a heap. Now, if you just went through the quest overnight, and got through it and moved on, there is very little chance that at the whiteboard you'd be able to recall that this kind of problem requires a heap. And that is where 99% of the people I've interviewed get stuck, right? Once they know what data structure needs to be used, they can, because each data structure beautifully, right, does not have like 1 million API calls. Think about it. And if you take a raw data structure like a vector, you can do a whole lot of things to it. But the more sophisticated data structures, basically just like object-oriented programming, right? They will take away things you can do to the data structure slowly, right? You can only do certain things that are highly guarded in certain ways. Yes. And that is where the real power of the data structure comes in. So the power of the data structure is not letting you do anything willy-nilly to it like a vector, but really taking a vector which gives you 100% freedom and saying, well, now we're going to take away the freedom, take away the freedom so that you get more powerful. Essentially what that says is that you have like 1 million cylinders in your head, right? And they're all firing in the wrong direction, or all kinds of directions. And that's why you're not making any progress, because they all cancel out each other. So all I'm going to do is take away your freedom to fire in all directions. I'll only let you fire in one direction. And miraculously, that means that even though you're not moving forward with 1 million cylinders, you are still moving forward with 10 cylinders. How's that? That is basically what object-oriented programming is. Object-oriented programming is discovering the power of progress through the incremental removal of supposed illusory freedoms. Because, if you have freedom to do this and that at the same time, that is really not freedom at all. Because you have, it's tug of war. You can't move. They're both pulling you, right? Real freedom is when you have that freedom, but also have a good sense to say, well, I can go anywhere I want, but that's where I want to go, right? So, and of course, in life, to get to that place is not easy, right? So I told my son too, right? We can't call ourselves independent until we are really independent, right? So because at a young age, I wasn't independent, and I knew I wasn't independent, and I knew I won't be independent for a long time, right? Because until you're truly independent, you are beholden, right, to someone or something. And when you're truly independent, you can say, well, the only thing I have to follow now are, laws of the government, and everything else is taken care of for me. I can do whatever the hell I want. So, and when you get to that stage, you basically say, well, I don't have even though I have all these freedoms, I don't want all those freedoms, right? The only freedoms I want are this, right? And if I take the freedoms that I'm able to do, then I can keep on moving in the direction that is favorable to me, right? But otherwise, like when I was a kid, not a kid, more of a grad student in college, a huge part of my initial life as a grad student, I wasted in going to pointless parties, right? And the problem is pointless parties, they yank you in all directions. And at the end of 6 months or something, you find you've made no progress at all, because you're going with one group of students who are interested in something, and then some other group of students who are cool will pull you in that direction, and you give that up and go here and follow that for a little while. And by the time you come back and say, well, I've done all of these things, now let me look at what I want, that's 6 months down the tube already. And so, and hopefully, yeah, that is the risk of full freedom, freedom without good sense, to know which freedoms are not worth pursuing. And so I don't want you guys to get stuck in a rut like that. So that you are young enough to say, well, I don't want to waste the 10 years that Anand wasted, right? So you have an extra 10 years, even though genetic engineering gives you a extra N++ years. But you can still get that extra 10 years that I was basically running after wild geese. All right. So anyway, enough of that nonsense. The point I want to make is that no burst coding, and pass this on. And those who are watching the video also, no burst coding, and the system basically flags it. And if I see a graph like this, and then no activity, and then 2 days or 3 days of intense activity, and that is very few points. And in fact, I think I say this in the syllabus too, right? You can burst code if you burst code like 3 quests in 2 days or 1 day, then they don't even count for points, because they'll be flagged as well. I could give the person points if they agree to do a one-on-one test with me, where in a Zoom class I actually grill them on concepts and then grade them on that, because otherwise I don't have any evidence of the person actually mastering the concepts. And I shouldn't say it's mastering, right? You never master knowledge, you only make knowledge your friend. So I think, yeah, the people who put in the effort to really understand, just like people, right? So when you understand someone is when you can actually be they will be truly helpful to you. Otherwise, you're using them, and when nobody likes to be used, and you'll never get the best out of anyone that you use. Right? Tips for future when you become managers of people. Okay, so I think that's something good to bear in mind. Okay, well, anyway, I didn't mean to take up so much of your time. It's already 20 minutes since I started talking. So you guys should feel free to talk amongst yourself. I think you're all on question number 9 right now. Yeah, you're all on 9. And Tony, you have to catch up a little bit, I think, but you should get there hopefully before the end of the quarter, right? Any case, if anyone who's managed to complete 6, I think, is a pass in CS2C for sure. However, they should not take that as a sign that they're ready to interview at companies. Okay, so if you've done 6 and get a pass in 2C, maybe you can get you can go to another college or university and maybe enroll in a class that says you need to have cleared CS2C or equivalent in community colleges. Okay, maybe they allow you to do that, but you're after question number 6. In my opinion, you're not ready to interview at any of the top software companies. However, after completing 9, especially if you aced all of the quests, you are more than ready right? If you have any contacts at all at any of these top places, you can say, hey, give me an interview, and you can just go. After lunch, you don't have to crunch lead code for 5 days before and say I know this and that. You can just go because you don't have anything to lose at this point, right? You're just students, and you say, I'm just want to do the interview, and you can go and have an experience, and you'll actually find that you can clear most of these problems, right? And who knows, some of these companies don't care about formal qualifications anymore. If you can demonstrate competence, they will basically hire you. So maybe you will have that going for you as well. The only, and since this may be the last class, the only caution I would say is that try your best. If you clear Quest 9, okay? If you clear Quest 9, try your best to not join a startup, even a well-funded startup. Try and make your first move into a bigger company. And the reason for that is that if you clear Quest 9 and ace all the trophies and everything, you are actually eminently set up to come up with lots and lots of original insights, great stuff, fundamentally new approaches to problems that are being solved in the company and so on. But many of this, you will not even get a chance to expose, let alone pursue at startups, because startups have very, very rigid agendas, right? I know, I've been in so many. They are on a very tight leash, held to in very minutely detailed benchmark, milestones, and say, we have to get this done in 3 months, 6 months, and so on. And nobody has the luxury of doing anything at all other than that. In fact, most people will just be working, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night and go home and, still work before going to bed, because it's all everybody's rowing, everybody, including the CEO many times, right? Everybody's rowing, and the CEO is probably pulling their weight too, because they're at night, they're on the phone at night, calling customers and friends and distant acquaintances saying, hey, try our product. And so everybody's doing these things. Nobody has the luxury to, and it makes sense, right? Only after you have a certain level of security, you can start exploring at the fringes, right? If you're worried about being attacked and you don't have the security, you're not going to be pushing outwards, right? You're still going to say, well, let me make sure that I'm safe. And that's what startups do, right? So they don't have the security to say, or the luxury to say, we can do anything. Well, 20% of our time, we have the luxury to do whatever we want, because even if we did nothing at all, the investment of the capital that we have will just get us 20%, like dividend income, right? So we can actually afford to waste 20% of our cash inflow revenue and not affect our bottom line. So good companies get to that point at some point. And at that point, everybody will have the luxury of saying, 5% of our time, we can do anything and not affect the bottom line. 15, 20, right? And so on. So that's, as you make more and more profit, we can make these calls. But startups, they're negative profit, right? So they're in minus 20% time, which means you have to cut into your time. So that would be my parting advice to you, because although you guys are going to be here next week, there's a chance that something might happen, and you say, well, I got to cram for some other test or something like that. So I just wanted to leave that with you. It's been a absolute pleasure to have you guys as students, and I hope that I'll get to work with you through some of these projects maybe. And also, and if you clear and ace all of the quests, I will be more than happy to see if I can arrange a summer project for you, right? Summer project and a stipend, and a stipend and summer project, working on something cool, right? Maybe I don't know if you're interested in game development, right? So maybe working on an Unreal project with Oculus Quest 2 or something like that, right? And if you really clear and put in a full effort, I can set you up with a system too. Who has a PC, by the way? But I got my iMac trying to do Unreal development last year. Then I realized that it's okay. I can do some basic Unreal development with the iMac, but after a while, it just starts getting, the fan comes on and it's slow. It's not really set up. And then my son told me that, okay, if you told me you were going to buy it for Unreal, you should have really bought a gaming PC. because then he showed me this. He has this a graphics card and everything, and even when he's running like super duper crunchy animations, it's just humming along. Even the fan of the graphics card doesn't even go on, right? So that kind of thing. So if you have a PC, Walter, you have a PC, right?
No, I use a MacBook Pro.
Oh, you have a MacBook, yeah. Oh, was it Riley? Riley, you have a PC, you're
I
a Mac
have
person.
one. Yeah, I have one, but it would probably blow up if I tried to do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think
We'll
I
see.
have
We'll see.
graphics card.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I know. Because yeah, I'm a Mac person too. However, if it works out and you guys clear everything and you're interested in it, I can even set you up with one of these systems, right? So yeah, it's not. I don't think it's going to be like super duper expensive. It's for the whole thing is probably, including the Oculus, is probably under, 1,500. Well, I don't know, maybe two. Well, if it's 2K and all, I'll think about it, because I committed some of the money to some other causes already for the next quarter. But certainly we'll see what I can do. Certainly I can get you the Oculus for sure if you decide to do it. But it'll be fun, I can tell you, right? Oh, you can do that, or I can just teach you give you a task to do with data engineering and machine learning, right? Or data visualization, or teach you a little bit of JavaScript so that you can create some of these animations and pictures that you see in the question system, right? With these trees and everything. And then we can work on some data engineering. So I can show you how to do ETL, basic ETL, data normalization, and extracting of information and learning the means, modes, and so on and so forth. Learning, not estimating, right? So that you can use that information and then create a tree structure that someone at Foothill, for example, right? So some administrative person at Foothill might say, well, here's a whole bunch of data. We want to see the success rates of students, in a tree like this, right? And interactive. So that would be an interesting project. I can, but not necessarily Foothill, right? They could use it anywhere in the world. Not even educational. I can show you how to do these things. And so if you're interested, if you don't have other interesting, internships, I'm happy to. I think I'll make it, an ongoing thing too. Anyone who completes all 9 quests in red and aces them, I will seriously consider for at least a 1 quarter internship at Nonlinear Media with a stipend, and possibly, possibly any hardware or some part of a hardware that would be required in their project. I think, I don't know, I just, I'm mouthing off things that I'm thinking of without really formalizing anything. But that's what I'm thinking of anyway, right? Maybe I'll formalize this by the time you guys are done. And maybe you can help me, come up with some kind of an offer that will be interesting to you guys and other students. All right, unless you guys have any questions, please do, chat amongst yourself. I did notice that some people, Arman and one more, Dean, mentioned that quest number 9 is easy. Okay, I want to delete those posts, but I don't want to, because they've also got some useful, or at least Arman put some other useful information in there and links and all. But it's not easy in my opinion. Maybe it's easy to them, but relative difficulty-wise, I think that this is the hardest one, unless you're looking at a solution and copying the pseudocode over, right? Understanding why Dijkstra works, understanding why Maxflow works. It's not like understanding heaps, right? Heaps, it takes you 1 day, right? You just read through the material, yeah, okay, right? So please do disabuse any of your classmates who think that, I can do graphs, the graphs quest in a couple of days. Even if I started doing graphs quest today, even though I've done it and I was the one who created the tests and everything, it'll probably take me a whole day, because I'll make some silly mistakes here, and then I have to debug and say, why is this not working? And then I'll get tired and I have to go sleep and I come back the next day. So please don't underestimate it, because I want all of you to finish it. Okay, I don't want you to say, well, it was really hard and I didn't do it. Okay, no, that is no fun at all. That's what used to happen before I started the question system. Nobody ever completed any of the labs, because it's pretty much the same 9 labs, except it was not like through the question system. People have to create it and submit it, and then like Riley used to say, Riley said in 2B, right, in a previous course, you have to bland submissions, right? So that's what I used to do, and I could see after week 6, right? After week 6, whether it's 2A, 2B, or 2C, submissions either stopped coming in, or they would have horrendous errors, and they would expect marks for that too. And yeah. So I don't know what happens in week 6, but after quest 6 is when people basically start slacking off. So please don't, yeah, complete everything. Again, please do complete everything, right? I want all of you to complete it. Okay? Thanks. Do you have any other questions for me? Great. Okay. All right. So before you start the quest number 9, just take a moment to read through that explanation that I have with the red pipes. So I have never seen that explanation anywhere else in the world. Nobody ever has given me any evidence that kind of or explained flow max flow to me in that way. However, I think it is a really cool explanation because Albert Ye, right? That's his name. No, Albert Ye. Albert Yu, maybe, right? Yeah, his last name would start with a Y, right? Albert. So this was several quarters ago when I used to teach on a whiteboard in class. He came to my office saying, this was not in my new office, it was my old office downstairs. Said, I don't understand max flow. Can you help? Can you help explain it to me? And then I explained it to him in 3 different ways. All of them that I've seen in books and online, Internet, Geeks for Geeks, Wikipedia, none of those actually worked, right? And he was still confused. And then was it the next day or the same day? Yeah, I think it was the same day, right? I said, let me try one more time. And then I explained that thing, the red pipe picture, right? Because it just popped into my head and said, well, you think about it like this and it'll work for you, right? And he said, wow, okay, that totally clicked. And I don't even need to look at Wikipedia or Stanford, where they go into the details of the Ford-Fulkerson algorithm and all these different kinds of algorithms to figure out how max flow works and the proof of correctness and things like that. He said, all of that is really simple. I can derive every single one of those results just based on this assumption that every forward flow automatically turns that pipe into a reverse pipe also at the same time, because now it can support reverse flow, which is basically just a diminished, reduction in the forward flow. Yes. So that's all, right? And it's so intuitive, and that made a complete Gestalt switch, I think. So keep that in mind and read that, and don't get lost. In the past, people have got lost with max flow. Not even Dijkstra, right? Dijkstra is easy to implement. But max flow, people get lost because they think it is usually complicated, and they get lost in the details of published algorithms out there. Now, if they understand how it works, the way I talked about it, and the way it's described in the spec, I in fact give the pseudocode also, right? If you understand why that works, then all of the algorithms out there, including mathematical proofs, most of them, you can basically derive by yourself. It'll be quite easy. But not understanding the fundamental principles, those things will never even begin to make sense. So yeah, so that's all I have. So I'm happy to turn the laptop around if you guys want to have a conversation. And since you said you don't have any questions for me, but otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you next week, where you can basically give me a rundown, because you'll be done with most of the quests by then, and you can also give me a rundown of maybe you've talked to other classmates and say, why is it that students aren't showing up, and why is it just the 3 of you guys, and how students are generally feeling, right? Do they think it's like too challenging, or and because the material is the same, whether whichever university or college you go to, it's the same. You go to Stanford or Harvard, it's exactly the same material, right? Maybe they teach it differently. But we can't pretend they're teaching, something else. It is the exact same thing. Maybe they're teaching it in a different way, but the student at the end of the day has to understand it, whether you learn it here or at Harvard. So that makes no difference. So I'd like to know what students, because if they don't understand here, they're not going to understand it at Berkeley or whichever school they transfer to from here. And so I would like to know, and obviously, I post these surveys and they're not very helpful. And so the reason I ask is because students are more vocal to other students, and you can tell them too. Are you okay with if I communicate that to the professor? And yeah, if they're okay, just let me know. and I'll be more than happy to take, because we're doing the syllabus, right? I'm doing the syllabus for the next quarter today and tomorrow, so I can take that into consideration. All right. Thank you all so much, right? I actually look forward to these meetings just because you guys show up. Yeah, otherwise I don't have any interest in doing these meetings. I can just follow up on Reddit. So thank you very much. Right? Do you want me to turn the laptop around so you guys have a conversation, and then you can call me when you're done, and I can turn off the recording? Or do you want to? Or are you basically done right now? That's okay with me too.
Yeah, I don't have too much. I'm just getting started on Quest 9, so just researching at this point.
Great. Yeah. So my tip there is, yeah, okay, yeah, good to do the research. But Quest 9 is, like I said, is risky because it is possible to get stuck in the research because there's just so much there, and we may be misleadingly thinking, especially by looking at past posts in which students have referred to these things like Fulkerson algorithm and things like that. Actually, I didn't even know it was called a Fulkerson algorithm, right? I just call it by Max Flow. That's how I learned it, and ever since then I've just been calling it the Max Flow algorithm. And so yeah, it's possible to get lost in that sea and not make it back. So just remember that it's much simpler than what you may see out there on Geeks for Geeks and things like that. Anything else? Walter, are you good?
Yeah, I'm working on the I think I got the cycle function. I haven't ran it through the questing site, so now I'm looking at the prune unreachables. And the thing that sort of got me stuck is understanding how to clear the edges of the unreachables. I'm still sort of figuring out how to do that. Because yeah, I'm not sure. I'm also not sure how to use the clear function effectively for that. So yeah, that's where I've been stuck for the past day or two.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, those you can easily find out just by experimenting. Submit it like this and like that, and find out what. Yeah, I'm not too worried. Right? It looks like you'll all of you will be completing this class before.
I have a question about the report, the project about the data structure. I think I must have missed it. I'm not quite sure what you guys are talking about.
The report that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you just check in with Riley and Walter after class, or you can even talk about it. If you want to do it on camera, that's fine, or you can just catch up because they're, I think you guys are pretty clear what needs to be done for the report, right? The display tree and AVL tree comparison, and then the hash table, two different kinds of hash tables. So yeah, but you can talk to them, right? And find out, figure out if you want to do a different kind of report, a different project altogether, or join in one of these. Up to you guys. You just divvy up the thing that you want to do, how you want to do it. Okay. Yeah, is that all right? Great. Thank you all so much for just turning up and all. And I hope to see you next week. One last time before you go, and best of luck. Okay, best of luck in the exams. All right. Thank you. And keep the Reddit flowing. Okay, help out other people, and but nobody's asking any questions. And when people do ask questions, I think I have to remind them to give more detail of the work that they've done first, and instead of just asking for answers. And you can also feel free to point out in the Reddit response too, right? And ask what they've done so that you can help more. And I think that they would also appreciate that. Thanks. All right. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.